I love Africa. I love Africans. It's been a lifelong passion of mine, and it may have started self-interested. I was in junior high in geography class, 12 years old. Buddy Blum, he was the hockey coach, and he taught geography. And the first unit was Africa. And he said, tomorrow we have a test. I'm going to give you a map of the 51 or 2 nations then in Africa. And if you can fill in the name of every country in Africa, you get an A in this class for the semester. And as kind of an unconventional, lazy, rebellious kid, I'm like, I'm doing that for sure. And I knew most all of them already because I've always loved geography. So I wrote every nation down on the Africa map the next day. And I had a class that I was good in for the rest of the semester. And I could screw off even more than I would have otherwise. Now, at that time, there was no South Sudan. There was no Eritrea. And Eswatini was still called Swaziland. But the map is not wildly different. The people of Africa are just awesome. The variability, the energy, the optimism, the empowering feeling. When I was in graduate school, half of my best friends were Africans from all different parts of Africa. I love African music. So it's been a lifelong passion of mine. Another lifelong passion of mine has been energy. Like I was a science nerdy kid. I looked up at the stars and I wanted to know where they were and how far away they were. And what I learned, there's stars quadrillions of miles away and I don't even need binoculars. Like that's an immense amount of energy. Think of the brightness of that light. That started my interest in physics and started my interest ultimately in energy. Energy is what makes human lives different from our ancestors, just dramatically different. If you trace the evolution of energy on the world or on a country, it is the evolution of human possibility, human opportunity, and the quality of life. It's just, if you get energy wrong, nothing else matters. Treating energy as one sector of the economy is just nonsense. Energy is the sector of the economy that enables everything else. Over-politicizing energy, which has been done for 10 or 20 years now, I think is just horrible. It's misdirected, it's wrong, and it's been wildly destructive. So tiny bit of history. Life expectancy at birth for humanity was around 30 years, as good as we can tell, from way before the invention of agriculture till 200 years ago. That was it. Life expectancy at birth, about 30 years. Today, it's 73 years. Like, what happened? Something dramatic happened. I say it's the growth of human liberty, bottom-up social organization. And I used to say that enabled the expansion of energy, but I think the causation at least as much goes the other way. When you have a different energy system, you can have a different social system. If you look at where bottom-up social organization, the empowerment of women, ending of slavery, it still exists, but it's in the shadows now. These are in societies that energized early. And now it is spread around. Today we have about 1 billion people that live a lifestyle remotely recognizable to us. We wear these fancy clothes, we fly to go to conferences, we turn on light switches and get in motorized transport. That's awesome. 1 billion out of the world's 8 billion people live like that. Nothing is more important. And I've not met any of people in that 7 billion that don't want what we have. To me, it's just blatantly obvious. The world needs more energy, much more energy. We have today more than half of the people in the world are walking around in hand-washed clothes, right? Because their family has not yet got the incredible time-saving, women-liberating technology of a washing machine and a dryer. Like, that is transformative. We have 2 billion people that don't have clean cooking fuels. Right? They're burning, and of course, that's a large percent in Africa. That is game-changing for your life. That's 2 to 3 million premature deaths that are easily fixable. It is women and children in traditional communities that are gathering that wood, that are around those smoky fires, that live different lives than if they had a stove they could turn on and go, and more time to read, more time to develop literacy, more time to get economic empowerment. So to me, Our goal, and I felt it in the dialogues I had with all the ministers before we got here, is that Africa needs massively more energy. Africans will do that. Africans will deliver that. The United States is thrilled to partner with you in that endeavor. The answers, thank you. And at least this government has no desire to come and tell you what you should do with your energy system. This is good and this is bad. That's just so nonsensical. It's a misunderstanding of energy. It's a paternalistic, post-colonial attitude I just can't stand. Let's look at the United States for a second. We have, just talking electricity grid, we have states where their biggest source of electricity is hydropower. We have states where their biggest source of electricity is oil. We have lots of states where their biggest source of electricity is coal. Most states, the largest number of states, their biggest source of electricity is natural gas. But it's different across all of our states. There's different resources there, there's different needs there, there's different degrees of an economy. That's decided by people and marketplaces and all that. Of course, that's what's going to happen in Africa. Africa has enormous natural resources, and we've had years of Western countries, including my own, shamelessly saying, don't develop coal, don't develop coal. Coal is bad. That's just nonsense, 100% nonsense. Coal has been the largest source of global electricity for 100 years. Coal transformed our world and made it better, extended life expectancy, and grew opportunities. And coal globally will be the largest source of electricity for decades to come. That's not a policy, that's not a desire, that's just a reality. Look at the data, look at what's happening in the world. My favorite thing about coal is if you look at the last billion people that did not have access to electricity, but today have access to electricity, that's over about the last 15 years. By far the biggest source that brought electricity to people for the first time is coal. Number one by far in that. Hydro's second in that. But it's different in different places. We got off track because of, I think, originally a legitimate concern about climate change. Look, I'm a scientist. I've spent my whole life digging into these issues. I've been speaking about climate change for 20 years. It is a real physical phenomenon. Burning of hydrocarbons, we've increased atmospheric concentration of CO2 by about 50%. It absorbs infrared radiation. It's led to a gradual warming of the world. That is real. But if you look at the physical data of climate change and read the economics around climate change, it is impossible to come up with climate change in the top 5 of the world's problems. If you're really honest, you can't put it in the top 10 of global problems. We should be aware of it. We should think about it. That technology evolution will ultimately drive down greenhouse gas emissions, but making it the source of policy, our direction, our North Star, this has been not only hamstringing for Africa, for finance or investment, telling what's good and what's bad, it's been destructive in our own societies. We've had major industrial economies that are deindustrializing. They're not lowering greenhouse gas emissions, they're just making their own energy more expensive and less reliable, and everyone that makes energy-intensive stuff is just leaving those countries to another locale. That's not reducing greenhouse gas emissions, that's just moving emissions, moving jobs, and impoverishing your own population. I went to college to work on nuclear energy. The second energy I worked on was solar energy in graduate school, geothermal energy soon afterwards. Then I got into oil and gas. Until I took my new job, I worked in oil, gas, next generation nuclear, next generation geothermal, solar. As I say, I don't care where energy comes from. The only goal of energy is to expand human opportunity, to make us live longer, healthier, more opportunities for us and our kids, to increase food security, increased heating security. Like it's foundational, and I know everyone here already knows that. So to me, what we want to talk about is what are the answers that Africans desire? What is the direction, your resources, your best choices there? And how can we partner with you? I loved Adam's words. We're not here to tell you what to do or direct you. We want to partner with African countries. And how can we enable you to build a better energy system and better lives for your people? If you measure energy by any other metric than how is it bettering the lives of the people that live there, you're off track. you're off track. Climate change is a real thing, but to put it not only on par with human lives, but superior to human lives. Look, I'll tell you, this administration will not do that. We will be the most climate knowledgeable administration we've had because we actually look at numbers and data and science and economics and trade-offs. But are we going to continue the days of climate change is more important than human lives and human opportunity? Absolutely not. Last thing about Africa, Adam also touched on this. Look, I've spent a lifetime reading about development economics. How do some countries get ahead and others not? From the Hungarian economists, Peter Bauer, William Easterly from the World Bank, Dembisa Moyo from West Africa. There is a lot of work and a lot of study on how best to advance. But the answer then has always been government-to-government aid with top-down mandates has just been a disaster. And it just doesn't work. Like if you want to better human lives, we need business, mutual benefit collaborations. We're not going to decide what you want. You decide. Your citizens, your people decide what they want. We want to be your partners in technology and providing capital and partnering in any way we can to pursue that goal. My dream is that 4 years from now, when I've got to get another job, we have a wildly better energized Africa, more empowerment in those countries, more energy, more middle-class citizens, more dynamism, more entrepreneurship. God bless what you all do every day. I am honored and thrilled to be here. Thank you for having me.